Hey everybody! I'm here today to tell you that it really makes me happy when drivers do this. I'm going to tell you a specific thing that when drivers do this, it puts a smile on my face. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. It really makes me happy when other drivers are humble. Now, when they show humility, they are being humble. It's basically the opposite of arrogance. Humble, when you are humble, it means that you know what your flaws are and you're willing to work on those flaws. And you don't think that you're the king of the road or the queen of the road. Now, I'm going to tell you some examples of a driver being humble, the things that they can do that will show me that they are humble, that they are showing humility, and how those things actually make them a better driver. So it makes me happy because at the end of the day, it makes them a better driver, which, let's face it, makes them have a less likely chance of crashing into me in my car with my kids in the back seat. So that's why it really makes me happy, to be honest with you. Here are some examples. So when a driver obeys the rules of the road, okay, that shows me, and it makes sure that they are humble. Because when you follow certain rules that make sense to you, it shows everyone that you're not arrogant. Now, there are certain rules of the road that don't necessarily make sense. They're not in place for safety. They're just rules because they're rules. And if people don't follow those, that's a personal decision, right? But I'm talking about like the main rules of the road in terms of the ones that are in place for safety. If they follow those, it shows me that they're humble. Another example, when they yield the right of way. So when you pull up to an intersection and someone knows that it's not their right of way, but for some reason they think it's their right of way, they like floor it to get through, right? And that shows me that they have no humility for driving. They're not humble as a driver, and that's dangerous because it's not your right of way, but you're taking the right of way. So when drivers yield the right of way to those that have the right of way, it shows me that they're humble, and that makes them a safer driver. And that allows everyone around that driver, all of the drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, animals, everything around that driver to be in a safer position. So with that being said, make sure you're doing these things. Yield the right of way when it's someone else's right of way. And if you don't know what the rules of the right of way are, look them up. Simple as that, okay? Another sign of humility is when drivers let things go. Now, I'm talking about someone cuts you off. I know you're angry. Believe me, I know. I'm in the car screaming sometimes. I'm gonna totally admit it. I sometimes I get really angry when people do things to me on the road, but you gotta let it go. That anger can happen, but hopefully it doesn't affect your driving, and hopefully it lasts like 5 seconds, and then you let it go. Okay, so when drivers let things go, it shows that they are humble. If they're like chasing after the driver that cut them off and they're following them for 45 minutes, that is not humility, okay? And to be honest with you, that's a little bit like maybe the marbles, and you lost your marbles for a couple minutes there, okay? Don't do stuff like that. Let things go. It'll make you a safer driver. And at the end of the day, if that driver cut you off, right, they're probably cutting people off all the time. Things like that don't happen once in a while. Most drivers that cut people off do it all the time, okay? They're just bad drivers, meaning they're going to get into an accident, meaning their insurance is going to go up, meaning they're going to have to pay a lot of money in car repairs, meaning they're like, that's enough karma for them. Leave them alone. They're going to have a very bad driving career. Leave them alone. They will bring themselves down. They don't need you to bring them down even more. They're going to bring themselves down. That's the way I think about it, right? Another thing that shows humility is when drivers continue to practice. Even when they've had their license for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they continue to do things that get them uncomfortable, right? A lot of people learn how to parallel park for the driving test, and then they never parallel park again. So when the time comes for them to actually parallel park, they go and find a spot that's way further, somewhere totally out of the way, just so they can reverse park. Instead of just practicing their parallel parking, right? Practice. It is the #1 best thing that you can do as a driver. Just because you have your license, just because you've had your license for 30 years, doesn't mean you have permission to stop practicing. So practice. Another sign of humility is when the drivers teach others how to drive. So if you are willing to take your driving skills and your driving knowledge and pass them on to someone else that's learning how to drive, that is a sign of humility. And it also shows that you're probably willing to practice some skills yourself so that you can teach that person even better. Let's say you're trying to show them how to parallel park and you're like, oh wait, I can't remember how to parallel park properly. You're gonna have to go and learn it again and practice it again in order to teach them. So that's a sign of humility in itself. And that's it. I mean, it truly makes me happy when drivers are humble, when they do this, because it makes them a safer driver, which, you know, for my own selfish reasons, makes them less likely to get into an accident with me or anyone else, right? So hopefully you watch this and you learn to do these things, because like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning to do a lot of these things on a continual basis, but you hopefully incorporate these into your regular driving routine. And that's basically it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment, and of course be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.